Just 4 years after it was founded, China's Xiaomi became the third largest phone maker in the world. Critics called it an Apple copycat.
Lei Jun is known as the Steve Jobs of China, and he earned that nickname because in the early days, he would do pretty much everything that Steve Jobs would do, including the way he dresses.
He knew, though, that he couldn't match Apple's brands and products at that time. So he went for the mass market.
But now Xiaomi is making EVs, something Apple abandoned after investing billions.
They gave up. Meanwhile, Xiaomi did the same thing a couple of years ago, and they're thriving.
And Xiaomi is using the same playbook in cars that helped it succeed in phones. Take cues from the leading brands. So far, it's worked.
What's beating brands that have been around for 10 years, that have multiple products? It's beating sales on a monthly basis. They're a force to be reckoned with.
There are challenges, though. Fallout from a tragic crash, a subsequent government crackdown on self-driving technology, and China's brutally competitive EV market.
There's a lot of EV startups in China. Most of them are not anywhere close to being profitable.
CNBC looks at how a mid-tier phone company showed up late to China's EV race and quickly became one of its buzziest brands. A few quick stats show just how fast Xiaomi has elbowed its way into China's crowded EV landscape. The SU7 was released on March 28, 2024. By December, it was outselling the rival Tesla Model 3 in China. Within a year of its release, the car had already sold 200,000 units. The SU7 also sold more quickly over time. It took 229 days to deliver the first 100,000 units, and just 119 for the second. This is despite the fact that the product is a four-door sedan.
China's like the United States. They are a crossover and SUV market. So sedans aren't even that popular in China.
In May 2025, Xiaomi launched the much-anticipated U7 crossover. With just those two products, the company plans to more than double sales in 2025 over the prior year. Xiaomi only sells domestically, but its reputation is spreading far outside China. Though Chinese automakers, with a few notable exceptions like Polestar and Volvo, can't sell vehicles in the US, at least a couple American automakers acquired SU7s, something they sometimes do to investigate competitors' cars. Rivian's using it to benchmark its own products. And Ford?
We flew one from Shanghai to Chicago, and I've been driving it for 6 months now, and I don't want to give it up.
I think that Jim was being the only way he can be very honest, brutally honest. I also think that was a motivating tool to his folks in Dearborn and his small team in Southern California, that there are significant challenges that Ford needs to overcome in order to build great products like the SU7.
At the very least, the smart EV business hasn't sent investors scattering. Xiaomi shares hit an all-time high in March 2025. That same month, the company raised another $5.5 billion in a stock sale to grow the EV business. So what's special about this car? There are, after all, more than 140 Chinese EV brands to choose from. One trait is high performance at a low price. There's 4 versions. The base model and longer range Pro come with about 300 horsepower. The mid-tier all-wheel drive Max has nearly 700, and then there's the Ultra. A roughly 1,500 horsepower prototype of that top trim version outperformed cars from Porsche, Tesla, and Rimac. That's on the Nürburgring, a famous German racetrack. Prices range from $30,000 to the Ultra's starting $73K. The base can charge to about 215 miles of range in 15 minutes, and it goes up from there.
The driving dynamics, the response on acceleration is out of this world. And for a first try, really impressed.
One of the cars the SU7 beat on the Nürburgring was the Porsche Taycan, to which many have compared the SU7. sometimes in ways that doesn't flatter Xiaomi.
In the early days when he launched his phones, he benchmarked against the Apple iPhone. And so we're seeing the same marketing pattern. He benchmarked against the Porsche, right? He's saying that our performance is as good as a Porsche, but this is a car that you can actually afford.
That Xiaomi is a tech company provides multiple advantages.
Traditional car companies, very product focused, right? This is how fast it goes. This is how many miles per gallon it gets. Technology companies are laser focused on the customer.
On the first day the SU7 was available, Xiaomi had a catalog of accessories customers could buy.
One of the most impressive things that I saw from Xiaomi outside of driving the vehicle was that, we're anticipating that some customers might want this or might want that. And they gave it to them on day one.
Xiaomi is one of the few Chinese companies in the EV space that has another way to make money so that they could continue to pursue their EV and not necessarily rely only on the EV as their sole product.
The SU7's biggest selling point might be Xiaomi itself and the strategy of its CEO Lei Jun. Its human times car times home strategy seeks to connect users to devices wherever they are: phones, appliances, and now cars.
The idea behind Xiaomi is to have a connected lifestyle. So in that way, you see Xiaomi's name on rice cookers, on power strips, on your cell phone, on a whole bunch of other stuff. And it's actually quite a different strategy from a lot of other tech companies.
The pioneering Apple ecosystem is famous, but Apple is much pickier about what categories it goes into. The tech giant abandoned Titan, its $10 billion effort to build an autonomous EV. The move surprised Tu Lei, who used to work for them.
I've never seen Apple flail like that on a decision, but I also know that they are control freaks, that they want to control every aspect of design, engineering, and manufacturing, and they couldn't do that.
Auto industry net margins are generally in the mid-single to low double digits range. Apple's are closer to 25%.
At the end of the day, Xiaomi succeeded where Apple has not yet. Do I think Apple is still eyeing the transportation market? Yes, I do. But now Apple can look at Xiaomi as a success story and learn from them, which is kind of ironic.
Xiaomi is a Chinese company, and China is the biggest EV market in the world. That has its benefits.
They've got a full supply chain that does everything from processing raw materials to producing batteries and motors and electronics and everything else. And Xiaomi has been able to leverage that supply chain that has grown up over the last 15 years for electrified vehicles and put it to good use.
Some say the fact that a sedan has been able to perform this well in a crossover market means the U7 could be a runaway success.
The Chinese EV brands and the so-called Tesla killers have all kind of lost individual battles with the Model Y.
Model Y has been one of the best-selling vehicles in China in 2025, though Tesla has been fighting hard to maintain its share in the country. It started a price war a few years ago, and this year it's offering aggressive financing on the Model Y. Overall, Tesla sales in China are down.
I say all this to lead up to the U7, which ultimately could be that one Tesla killer.
That said, Xiaomi sales did fall in April 2025 from a record set the month before. That follows a crash that left 3 dead in China. The incident revealed the perils of imitating American tech companies.
The things that Tesla has done a lot that others, particularly in China, have copied is doing public beta testing of software, particularly for automated driving systems, and that is now banned.
Good for safety, but
with these new regulations, it's going to put a damper on the ability of companies like Xiaomi to really appear to be out there on the leading edge of deploying new technologies in their vehicles. It's going to slow down some of that pace of updates, at least from a software perspective.
Xiaomi has also made some moves since then that have left many questioning the company's prospects for success. Lei Jun did not attend this year's Shanghai Auto Show, where Xiaomi was expected to unveil its U7 SUV. The company told CNBC he was unable to attend due to a scheduling conflict. It did not comment on the accident, referring CNBC to previous statements. In the aftermath of the crash, CEO Lei Jun said on social media, "Our team immediately set up a special task force, rushed to the scene on the 30th, and cooperated with the police on the 31st to retrieve and submit the vehicle data we have."
Now, compare and contrast that to last year, where the SU7 was the runaway hit and Lei Jun was getting chased all over the Beijing Auto Show.
How much damage this has done remains to be seen. Xiaomi is not a startup, it's an established brand. It had partnered with Chinese automaker BAIC to make its vehicles. Now it has its own manufacturing license in China. The cars are highly desired, despite the recent sales drop. But its history of offering products in every conceivable category might be more of a liability than an asset.
And you could argue that it's a good thing because it shows that they really want to push this idea of a lifestyle. And I think that the EV is just an outgrowth of that idea. But then the downside of that is that it could raise questions as to exactly what your brand is all about.
In addition to the sheer number of products, Xiaomi is neither a premium brand nor a category leader.
The smartphone market, they're somewhere in the middle. Sometimes they do well, and then sometimes they don't do so well. And then it's the same with the EV market. They're launching and they're in the middle of the pack. EV space is so fiercely competitive, and Xiaomi's biggest challenge is going to be, how do they break out? How do they make sure that they could get ahead in the pack?
While the company is profitable overall, the EV segment isn't making money. Gross profit margins for the smart EV business and other new initiatives were 18.5% in 2024, but when all costs and expenditures were factored in, the segment lost $850 million. That loss, however, is 7.1% narrower than the prior year.
We'll probably see some consolidation of some of the more than 100 automakers in China. Whether or not Xiaomi can get through this and grow to a scale where they can become profitable, we'll see. They certainly I think they have the right pieces in their portfolio as far as the technologies they're using. And if they can prove to consumers, prove to the public that their vehicles are safe, they may well do fine.
3连关注，点赞也行。